When you look out your window or step outside your door in the morning, what do you see? Is your neighborhood safe? Are the schools any good? How's the traffic? All those things are shaped by our government. As President Lincoln famously said, American government is designed to be for the people and by the people. We choose our leaders from among our neighbors. In Connecticut, for more than 4 centuries, we've asked our neighbors to step forward and lead us.
A lot of times people need to be asked because a lot of them haven't thought about running for office. They look at it as some, huge thing and balloons and signs and jar grippers and all the other stuff that goes into campaigning.
Lon Seidman is the chairman of the Board of Education in Essex. He's also helped recruit candidates for the state's Democratic Party. He says that if you hear the word politics and immediately think of the latest war of words on cable TV,
he talks about this at every rally. Get this out there. Mar-a-Lago.
Your point is stupid.
You're not picturing the real business of governing that goes on in towns and cities all over the state.
At the local level, it's very different. I mean, people come with different ideas and different perspectives that might be influenced by particular ideologies that they might have. But ultimately, what I've seen just in my experience here in this town is that we're all very focused on making sure we have the best school possible, making sure that our town stays as pristine and wonderful as it is. And that is increasingly important in small towns, is to always be on the lookout for talented people who want to contribute, irrespective of what party they're in.
There's a great need for people to step up and serve on the Board of Education or Planning and Zoning, and those jobs are usually not paid.
These boards rely on volunteers, especially in our smaller communities here in Connecticut.
But even paid positions can be hard to fill. As many as 25% of races for the state legislature have only one candidate.
At the salary that we receive as a state rep, if you have bills to pay, you have to, have another job, either a part-time or a full-time job.
Most legislators have another job. It's very difficult to manage that. Some of my colleagues on both sides of the aisle are putting in 70, 80 hours a week.
So we have a great need for good people to run for office, especially on the local level. It usually doesn't pay well and often not at all, despite a huge commitment of time and effort. So why would anyone do it?
I just see a sea of angry people who are upset at their government, upset that they didn't feel that their representatives were listening to them or being responsive to their needs.
Erin Stewart was 25 years old when she watched a crowd gather outside New Britain City Hall, complaining about proposed fees on rental properties. She saw a town government estranged from its people.
And it was at that moment that I looked at a friend of mine standing next to me and I said, I really think I need to run for mayor. And he looks at me and he's like, are you out of your mind? He's like, are you crazy? I'm like, I might be, but I really think I need to do this because if I don't, who will? Who's going to change this?
Erin wasn't exactly a stranger to politics. Her father, a Republican, had been a mayor, and her mother's family included a Democratic state representative. But it hadn't been her plan.
When I wanted to go to college and I wanted to go into the pharmaceutical industry, I wanted to be a pharmacist. I didn't want anything to do with politics.
But Stewart cared about her hometown.
I genuinely care about the city of New Britain. I mean, I went to a high school where there's over 50 different languages spoken. It's incredible. You can't buy that anywhere. I was grown up with those values instilled in me that community is number one, and you need to care about the place that you live, and you can't expect you to live in a wonderful place if you're not taking part in making it better.
The city was facing a $30 million deficit and many other problems, but Erin decided to take on the challenge. She ran and won. She's since been reelected and helped put the city on solid fiscal ground. Erin Stewart plunged headlong into elected office, but most people take a more gradual path. For State Representative Hilda Santiago, it started with simply being a mom.
I have a son who is 36 years old and has learning disability. So I had to advocate for him through the Board of Ed. I went to a lot of Board of Ed meetings. I went to a lot of PPTs. And I had to advocate for him to make sure he received the services that he needed in order to make sure he graduated from high school.
From there, she got involved in other school committees advocating for children. And like Erin Stewart, she started to believe the local government was estranged from the people.
Nobody from the faith organizations, nobody of color, So I was able to bring a little bit of color and parent advocacy to this grant.
Hilda ran for city council and lost. She ran again and lost again. But she persevered, gained the council seat, and eventually won a seat in the General Assembly.
Raising 2 children, going through a divorce, going through homelessness, going through domestic violence, and I still persevered, and I was resilient. Then, when the opportunity came, I took it. So if I could be here as a state rep, so can you.
That's important because too often our elected officials don't look much like the people they represent. For instance, very few of them are young, and few of them are women.
The numbers are woefully low everywhere. I mean, I talk a lot about Congress. We have a cozy 20%.
Patty Russo is the executive director of the Women's Campaign School at Yale, a bipartisan program that recruits and trains women for public office.
It's not just at the higher levels, it's also on the local levels and even the state level. We just need more women.
Frankly, I never ever thought I would become a public servant. I really don't like the word politician.
Melissa Gibran is a member of Connecticut's House of Representatives. It's a job she never expected to have. She got involved in local politics when someone proposed changes in her children's school system, changes she didn't like.
So I started attending meetings, and somebody said, hey, she can talk and she's not afraid to speak up. How about running for the Board of Education? And I said yes, and I won, and that kind of started it.
But saying yes the first time is a rarity for a female candidate.
Women need to be asked to run a minimum of 3 times before they think about it. And what I like to tell women is, this is not the prom. You don't have to wait to be asked, because men aren't waiting.
Why don't more women run for office? Some of the reasons include lower levels of income, greater household obligations, and less external support for a candidacy. They're also less likely to see themselves as qualified, even though women who do run are just as likely as men to be elected to office. But their approach to governing may be different.
We're much more collaborative in our leadership style. I'm an Italian woman, and I like to say that I take care of people, and I think that's a really good thing. It was something I never valued, but you know what? Women know how to do that. And so when they run for public office, it's just their family just expands.
Other voices that are often missing from elected office are those of younger adults. In Connecticut, as of 2015, only a quarter of state legislators were younger than 50, and only 4% were millennials under 35. Darrell Brackeen is just 28 and a New Haven city alderman. Like many millennials, he cared about his community, but didn't see politics as the way to make a difference.
Millennials, many studies show that we're driven by charity, volunteer work, around causes, not necessarily politics. For me, I actually had no idea what an alderman was. Had no idea. Never seen the person, never heard of it. So for me, once I was aware that government, democracy was actually happening right here in New Haven, I was just like, how come I didn't know about this?
Inspired by teachers and others, Darrell ran for a seat on the Board of Alders and lost.
I was running against a 10-year incumbent. I knew I had no chance. But I wanted to make a statement, and just to be clear, at that time, there weren't very many young people in elected position at that point, and I felt like we needed a voice.
But for the next campaign, Darrell got his friends involved, talking about the issues that mattered to his fellow millennials. This time, he won. Today, he's state director of the Young Elected Officials Network, a group that supports local, state, and national leaders aged 35 and under. He says recruiting young candidates continues to be a challenge.
And it's just kind of hard to convey that government can be a tool meant to really deliver justice. It has before, and it certainly can do that again.
People from all walks of life are needed to make our government truly representative.
I think the problem is we've made politics a dirty word in this country, and I think the result is what you see out there. And I think there are good sides to politics. There's good sides to people disagreeing with each other, provided that at the end of that disagreement, there's a process that they follow to get things done.
I like to be that voice, and I like to be that empowerment of people at the local, state level, and federal level to know that there's a friendly voice on the other side, that the government does work well for them. In certain instances.
People don't have confidence and they think, well, you have to be, a rocket scientist to be in politics. Trust me, you don't. I was never a straight A student. You don't have to be a rocket scientist to do this. You just have to have common sense and be able to talk to people and like I said, share your opinion and in a way that can be persuasive to others. But also, you just have to have that passion that I talked about. You have to really care about your community and know that you're representing the people for the right reasons.